Welcome back to Horn Takes, your Texas football and baseball talk destination. I am Sean Redfern. It is Longhorn Friday Eve, folks. We're getting close. Made it over Hump Day. Now we just got to get through Thursday, and it'll be Longhorn Friday. And we'll just be a short few hours away from kickoff. Excited. We'll do our Trace Otra games week 12 today. Got a really good record coming in. We want to make sure we keep that going. And then we'll do the deep dive on this Arkansas defense. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. If you just like to listen to podcasts, you can find us at Apple, iHeart, Spotify Podcast, all the podcast places. We'll be there. If you want to go back and watch all the old episodes, I think you'll have to go or listen to all the old episodes. I don't know. I think I streamed them all. I think they're all up on YouTube as well. But horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com. If you can't get to Apple, iHeart, Spotify, you can find all the audio podcasts of every single show right there at horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com. Trace Otra games, week 12. Folks, we're like 28 and no, we ain't 28 and 3. We're like 20. What are we? 27 and 6? No, 26. No. Yeah, we're 28 and 5 on the season, folks, coming into week 12. How exciting is that? That's pretty good, man. Met a guy at the Texas game, the Florida and Texas game, and he said he uses my picks a lot, which made me sort of scared for him, but also kind of feel proud that somebody thinks I'm good enough at something to kind of follow along and see what they can get. So that's pretty awesome. Good luck to him every single week. If he's done all the picks and just did money line, he's doing pretty well. He's doing real well, actually. I think next year, and I think I've talked about this. I know I've talked about this before. Next year, I think we're going to have to start playing with the spread a little bit because it's becoming a little too unfair for the rest of you guys on picks. And then watch, I'll bomb miserably there. That stupid point spread, man. It messes everything up. First game, number 23 Missouri at number 21 South Carolina. It's a 3:15 p.m. kick on the SEC network. South Carolina a huge favorite in this game at home. They're minus 12 the last time I looked. Missouri, man, they have not had the season they hoped for, obviously. But this is an opportunity for them to go on the road, sort of prove they belong in the top 25 by beating another top 25 team. South Carolina looking to improve to 7-3, 5-3 in the SEC. And to me, kind of continue building on that season. We said it a couple weeks ago when they played A&M. This is kind of like a next step type game for Shane Beamer in that South Carolina program. They've already played close games against Bama to that point. They played a close game against LSU, and in my opinion, they beat LSU. And then they absolutely hammered Texas A&M at home at night. I mean, you look at this Cox team, man, they could easily be 8-1, 6-1 in the SEC, right? They could be right in the mix of all of this. For sure, in that little second tier with 2 losses below Tennessee and Texas. Wouldn't that be something? Listen, I thought Missouri was trash before Brady Cook got hurt, and I don't know if he's playing in this game. So with his status up in the air, I don't think there's much of a chance that this Missouri team finds a way to beat South Carolina. I think South Carolina's defense really, really good. I think they run the ball pretty well. But I look for South Carolina to just absolutely bully Missouri on Saturday. I think we got the Cox 38, Missouri Tigers 15 in this one. I don't even need to do a lot of analysis on this. It's just going to be ugly. Just flat out ugly. Next game, number 7, Tennessee at number 12, Georgia. It's a 6:30 p.m. kick, and these are all central times. ABC, ESPN Plus family. Georgia minus 10. So must-win game for Georgia. They are 2-loss team. They lose another one, and I think their chances are very, very slim to doing anything postseason but going to a bowl game. And then you look at for Tennessee, this is kind of like their last true test of the season in the SEC. They win here, they win Saturday. They're probably a one-loss SEC team. Could be on into the SEC championship game, just depending on what happens. It's wild. We'll talk tomorrow a little bit about it. Just an absolutely crazy scenario that could happen. I didn't discover it, by the way. I will give full credit. I saw it online. I saw it on Horns 24/7. Someone was talking about it. The rumor early this week is that Nico's out. Had a concussion in the last game, will not play in this game. I think that's a pretty rough one for Tennessee. I don't know how much that backup has played. I don't even really know much about that backup. But I think anytime you're without your starting quarterback, there's very few teams, and it's almost none teams that their backup has to come in and play in a conference game, and you feel at least somewhat confident about it. I don't think Tennessee is one of those teams right now. Statistically, Tennessee a lot better than Georgia, almost all the way across the board. There's very few spots where Georgia statistically is better than this Tennessee team. I got a few keys for this one. Tennessee, really good running team. Can they run it against that Georgia defense? We saw Texas, who's not a great running team, but a pretty decent running team, have some tough sledding early in that game down in Austin, and they just kind of abandoned it. Sark got away from it for 2 quarters, 2.5 quarters, and I think that's what kind of cost them the game. I think sometimes you just got to win SEC games on field position and defense. And if you're a explosive, powerful offense, I think you find a way over the course of 4 quarters to get enough done to win. But what you can't do is what Texas did in that game, which was totally give the game away. So many turnovers. So can Tennessee run the ball against Georgia? Can Tennessee protect whoever the quarterback is? Georgia, pretty good rushing the passer. They definitely got after Texas's ass. And to me, those two things kind of go hand in hand. If you can run the ball a little bit, or you will continually run the ball, that sort of protects your quarterback by default. You're not putting him in a situation where he can't, where like the defense knows, hey man, they're just going to pass it. Well, let's go get them. And then I think for Georgia, can they protect the football? They have been just a turnover machine, even going back to that Texas game. So the last 3 games they've played, they've just turned the ball over way too much. I mean, they look a lot like what Texas was doing through that stretch from, Vandy, Georgia, a little bit in the Red River Shootout. Before that, against Mississippi State, they had a couple fumbles. So Georgia's been consistently turning it over for a few weeks now. Can they kind of break out of that? And we saw Texas do it against Florida last week. I think this is a tough game for Tennessee, man. It's on the road in Athens. They're probably without their star quarterback. Despite the fact that this Georgia team, 2 loss and hanging on by a shred right now, hanging on by a string, I still think they're really dangerous. And when they aren't killing themselves with turnovers, they're pretty damn good. I think Georgia's going to find a way to stay alive in a really low-scoring game. I think that Tennessee defense will give Carson Beck and that Georgia offense some problems. And I think you're looking at Tennessee; they're going to be trying to run the ball, and I think that's gonna be something that Georgia is definitely going to sell out to try to stop. So I think we might see a really low-scoring back and forth type of game in this one. I'm going to go Georgia 20-17 over Tennessee. Close, real close. Game number 3, we got Arizona State at number 16, K-State. One seems like an odd one to pick, but these guys are tied for third in the Big 12. So this is a 6 p.m. kick on ESPN. You got K-State -9. Both teams 7-2. Both teams 4-2 in conference. As I said, they're tied for third right now in the Big 12. They're not, I wouldn't say they're mathematically out of it, but they're probably out of it. Got BYU undefeated at the top, and you got Colorado sitting at, what are they sitting at? They're at 7-2 as well, but I think they've only got one conference loss. So maybe not impossible for someone, for the winner of this game to catch back up and maybe get ahead of Colorado. But right now it's not looking good. Offensively, these teams are very, very similar. I think, they're both more running teams. K-State has a slight edge everywhere except for scoring offense. It's not much in any of these areas. You look at them statistically, they're also very similar defensively. They're both much more susceptible to the pass than they are the run. So both defenses good against the run. Both offenses like to run the ball. Keys, the number one that makes sense to me is who can run the ball. Which offense is going to be able to get the upper hand on the opposing defense and then flip it around? Who can stop the run? If a team can run, if one of these teams can run the ball and can also stop the run, this one's going to get out of control. And then I think sort of secondarily to that is which team can take advantage of the weak pass defense. Does one of these quarterbacks sort of have like a breakout type game against two defenses they're just not great against the pass? K-State undefeated at home. Arizona not really good on the road. We always talk about going into K-State's pretty tough. I got K-State. I think they stay alive in the Big 12. Not by much, but they'll be alive. 31-23 over Arizona State on Saturday. All right, folks. We did the deep dive on the Arkansas offense on Tuesday. Let's get into this defense. Second-year defensive coordinator Travis Williams, he's got a tough task this week. He's got to figure out a way to slow down Quinn Ewers. We've seen it when Quinn Ewers has time and he's protected. He's arguably one of the best quarterbacks in college football. When he doesn't have time and when people can get at him and disrupt him a little bit, he's not real good. So I think if you're Travis Williams, goal number one this weekend is how in the hell can I figure out a way to disrupt Quinn Ewers? And that doesn't always mean pressure, but it can, certainly. We saw Georgia do it. We saw Vanderbilt do it to a lesser extent, and it just didn't quite work out for them. But I thought they did a good job. I mean, they sacked Quinn Ewers, I think it was 6 times in that game. They had 2 turnovers off of tip passes at the line of scrimmage in that game. But you can also do it with coverages. We saw Georgia do that too. Saw Georgia disguise some coverages on Quinn Ewers. He kind of got a little antsy, threw an interception. He's got a few tools to work with. The best player on this defense to me is Edge Landon Jackson. It's not even close. He's an all SEC guy. He's probably an all American type guy. He's 6'7", 280 pounds, and surprisingly nimble for a guy that big. I mean, this dude, man, I saw a video of Landon Jackson doing some drill at some camp when he was in high school, I guess. And there is no way I would have looked at that dude and said, "Yep, that guy's an all SEC type guy." He just didn't. He looked clumsy. He didn't look particularly quick. Maybe it was just the drill because he's an absolute badass, like 100%. And he's been like that for a couple years now at Arkansas. Sark thinks he's a first rounder, so that's how good this dude. I mean, he may not be a first rounder. He may not be an All American. He's in that type of conversation for a lot of people that know football. He leads the Hogs with tackles for loss, 6.5. He's got 4.5 sacks, which he leads the Hogs as well. To me, he's the type of dude that can just kind of take over a game. He's got that ability. Linebacker Xavier Sorey Jr. leads Arkansas in tackles with 73. He's pretty versatile. We'll talk about that a little later when we check tape. He's got 6 tackles for loss on the season, and he recorded 13 tackles against Ole Miss a couple weekends ago, the last time Arkansas played football. He's a Georgia transfer. Safety TJ Metcalf leads Arkansas in interceptions with 3. He's a pretty big guy, 6'1", 200 pounds. He's got 4 pass breakups. He's got a forced fumble. I think he's a versatile player as well. He likes to get involved in the run game. He's got 45 tackles on the season. So he can do a lot of different things as well. So I think you look at this defense, those are your 3 main guys, in my opinion. I think they're difference makers. Can be difference makers for sure. Arkansas runs a base nickel. It's really just almost like what everybody else in college football is running these days. And they don't get, at least what I saw, and folks, I don't get to watch every single game for Arkansas. So if I say something that's just horribly wrong, don't roast me. Just tell me. I'll go look at it and I'll come back on the air and say, yeah, I was wrong about that. But from what I've seen, they're not really all that exotic in between the hashes. They kind of line up. I mean, they will blitz a little bit, but it's not, it's not anything crazy. What they will kind of do is in long yardage, they'll throw some different looks at the quarterback. We'll talk about that when we check tape. I think they do some really cool, interesting things down in the red zone, stuff that most people probably wouldn't notice. And I don't know. I just notice stuff like that sometimes. I'd say overall, they're just kind of pretty standard on defense. They don't do a lot with movement with the D line. Like I didn't see a lot of stunts or crosses or anything like that. That could change Saturday, though. I mean, that might have just been their opponent. Uh, I I watched the Ole Miss game. That's what all this tape is from that we're going to look at in a little bit. It's all from the Ole Miss game. Jackson Dart, kind of a threat to run. Quinn Ewers, absolutely not a threat to run. I don't think if you're Arkansas this week, you have to worry about your rush lanes as much as you would against a Jackson Dart. So maybe that changes. Maybe there is a whole lot of looping and stunting and shifting and just stuff they just didn't want to do against Ole Miss. So as we said earlier, man, we've seen 2 teams kind of give Quinn Ewers trouble, and they brought pressure from a bunch of different looks. They had some different looks in the secondary. So I wouldn't be surprised if what we saw against Ole Miss is not exactly what we see. We might see some more exotic stuff. We might see some more pressure packages and things like that out of this Arkansas team for Texas. Just looking at this this Arkansas defense, statistically, it's not that great. They're 90th in total defense. They give up 387 yards a game. They're 124th in passing defense. They're giving up 266 yards per game. 36th in rushing defense. That's pretty good. 121 points or yards per game. I think I've been saying points per game. I meant yards per game on all of these stats so far. Scoring defense, they rank 79th. They're giving up 26.3 points per game, I believe. They're ranked 57th in sacks. They got 19. That's pretty good. 64th in turnovers gained. They've got 12 takeaways on the season. So not huge there. Third down defense, they're kind of middle of the pack. They're 63rd, around 38% conversion rate against them. And then red zone defense, they're okay. They're probably top third in the country. They hold people 81% of the time from scoring, or excuse me, people score on them 81% of the time. So, the defense, like we looked at the offense on Tuesday, a lot of spots on the offense popped out at us. There's not a whole lot of spots on this defense that really pop out at me. One spot I see where Texas, if they can protect Quinn Ewers, this game could get really, really ugly, is the pass defense for Arkansas. We saw Quinn Ewers just absolutely pick Florida's defense apart on Saturday. And it's because they protected him. I mean, they had the 1 sack early on the first drive. After that, Quinn Ewers was clean. And if they keep Quinn Ewers clean against Arkansas, this one could get Ole Miss type ugly on Arkansas. Texas doesn't really try to go into games and try to like establish the run. I've been, we talked about that for the last 2 seasons at least. But we're Texas too. It might be some tough sledding. Texas is 61st in the country in rushing offense, and that Arkansas defense 36th in rushing defense. So that's a spot I think might favor Arkansas a little bit. Another spot I think is in the sacks area. 19 sacks. That's right around what Georgia, what Florida, and now they did a really good job against Florida, but their sack total is really close to what Georgia, Vanderbilt, Florida, and I know that like transitive property doesn't work, but obviously if you're right around in the same type of numbers sack wise, I mean you're pretty decent at rushing the quarterback, right? I think third down defense could be tricky. Third down offense for Texas. I mean, Texas was not very good on third down last week against Florida. So much like the offense and the defense discussion we had on Tuesday, this is a really lopsided deal in Texas's favor. It's just a little less lopsided, I think. Well, actually, it's a little more lopsided than the Arkansas offense versus the Texas defense. Let's check tape on this defense. So, folks, I don't think, as we kind of said earlier, I don't think you can start talking about this defense without talking about Landon Jackson. Watch his get off on this play. He's at the top of the screen on the right edge. Watch him just come off the ball really quick. He's navigating through traffic. He's absolutely relentless as a pass rusher. Fights off two guys. Ultimately, he doesn't get the sack, but you get this kind of effort out of Landon Jackson literally every single play. And something else I would note is just how long this guy is, man. I didn't know he was 6'7", 280 pounds. I thought he was probably more like 6'3", 245, 250, because that's just what his body kind of looks like. But if you really look at him, man, he is tall and he is long. He's not just powerful and fast and all that good stuff, man. He's pretty fundamentally sound and smart. Watch this play down on the goal line. His initial read's going to be run the opposite direction. He's at the bottom on the edge. He starts to squeeze down, and then he immediately notices that tight end's leaking out underneath him. He knows he's got that flat coverage. It's not super great coverage, but what it does is it requires Jackson Dart to hold on to it just a little bit longer than he wants. He couldn't get that ball out immediately, and I think that's what prevented a pretty easy touchdown. He gets in on the tackle. Of course, one of the cornerbacks or safeties comes up, lays a really good lick on this Ole Miss offensive player. The good thing about, the crazy thing about this play, and people don't get it, man. This effort on third down, this set up a fourth down play where they eventually got off the field. So you're going to get like max effort. You're going to get a smart guy. You're going to get a physical guy. I mean, if you just focus on Landon Jackson, you know why he's an all SEC guy. You know why he could be an All-American type guy. He's on some All-American preseason lists. And you know why Steve Sarkisian's very high on him. Thinks he's probably a first rounder. I don't know about that, but we'll see. We mentioned TJ Metcalf getting involved in the running game. This is a kind of a crappy film, but I'll stop it for you. I don't know why they do this split thing. We just saw the play, guys. We don't need to see it again. Here they are down on the goal line. It's like 4th and 5 inches. You're going to see TJ Metcalf playing safety right there on the B in Razorback. And he's just going to come and stick his nose up in the pile on 4th and 1 to finish off a really nice goal line stand by the Hogs. We'll run it. Here he comes. Bam. There's number 18 sitting on top of the pile, making a tackle. He didn't do it all by himself, obviously, but he's the type of dude that's just going to get in the middle. He's going to, he sees run, he's coming up, he's going to mess things up. I think he's a really good player. We got saw some interesting things in long yardage situations from this Arkansas defense. 2nd and 10 here. They're in the dime package. Arkansas is going to kind of drop into a zone coverage. We'll just let it go. They're going to drop into this big zone coverage. You're going to see the back leak out into the left flat. Dart's going to get him a ball for an easy completion and a nice little run after the completion. So I think that's a look. I don't know that we'll see it a lot because Texas does like to throw the ball near the line of scrimmage so often. And hey, folks, they like to throw it down the field too. Quinn Ewers throws the ball where the guys are going to be open. He throws the ball where the defense kind of says, you're not throwing it here. But I think if they do get this look, Texas will be able to take advantage of it with some swing passes, maybe so those quick screens out to the wide receivers. The run game, if Quinn can recognize it and audible into something like that, would be great in a look like that on 2nd and long. Maybe not, maybe 3rd and long too, man. Maybe sometimes you just give it a shot. Everybody's bailing at the snap. You get through the front 4. Who knows what happens? Coming up, here's another 2nd and 10. This time they're in the nickel. You can see the cornerback. He's going to follow the motion across the formation, indicating that it's man. But watch the safeties right before the snap. I'll pause it real quick. He's about to go in motion. You'll see number 3 go in motion with him. Down here on the bottom of the screen at safety, that's TJ Metcalf. Watch what he does as we get closer to snap, and then watch the other safety. Everything's looking manalicious right now. But right around the snap, TJ Metcalf is coming. The off safety is sort of rolling into a single high look. And they're just trying to do this to confuse Dart. You can't see him, but there's a man way at the bottom of the screen for both Arkansas and Ole Miss. Dart recognizes it right away, makes the correct read, makes the correct throw, just a really crappy throw. And that's why that one didn't turn into a touchdown. But point being, we've had 2 second down looks, 2nd and 10, and 2 different looks off of what they will do. Here's a 3rd and long coming up. They got a zone look with pressure pre-snap. So you see number 10, Sorey Jr., he's all up, mugged up on the line of scrimmage. This actually looks a lot man right now. It's going to switch over to zone. Watch the DB on the bottom right there on the left edge. He's going to drop off into sort of a robber look. And then watch Sorey Jr., the guy on the hash that's standing up for Arkansas. Watch this drop. This drop is over 20 yards deep. Let's let it roll. Snap, bam, I'm out. What? I have never seen anything like that in my life. You remember the Tampa 2 that they used to run? And remember Brian Urlacher? He used to, he was an ex-safety in college. So he used to be able to get back there and roam the deep middle. I don't think I've ever seen a college linebacker drop over 20 yards into the deep middle like that on a zone coverage. That's wild. That's a interception machine right there. Could be. You want to push the ball down the field? Okay. I'm gonna run somebody back there that you would not ever expect to be back there. So again, 3 2nd and long, 3rd and long looks, and 3 completely different looks by the defense. Something I think, just like last week with Florida, I think this Arkansas linebacker group pretty susceptible to the play action pass. Watch this play right here. You're going to see both linebackers really aggressive when they read run. They're going to attack the run fake. Dart's going to end up going to the outside for a completion, but there would be lots of opportunities in this situation for some balls right over the middle with a play action pass. Watch these two linebackers. I mean, they are coming. He gets it out over to the left side for a completion. Nice little pickup. Bad tackling by that Arkansas defense. Here's another play where there's play action. Really affects these linebackers. It's going to be a little fake pitch off to the left. Watch both linebackers stay at their current depth and just go sideways, and then watch what comes in right behind them. They're running to that fake. Boom, tight end right in behind them for a nice pickup. It's an easy pitch and catch, folks. That's something that I'm really surprised we didn't see more of against Florida. Maybe we'll see it against Arkansas. I'm not sure. We talked about how there's some interesting looks down near the goal line for this Arkansas team, and this is one I thought was really cool. And I just, I don't when I look at these tapes, I don't like chart it out by man and all that stuff. So I kind of just stumbled upon this. So 1st and 10. Notice they have two defensive tackles lined up on the weak side of the formation, and then they got two edge guys on the strong side of the formation. So at the top, you got Landon Jackson. You got another edge or linebacker type player. I mean, it almost looks like a nickel look, but I think honestly, there's too many other linebackers on the field, so I don't think that's it. So I think this other guy is actually playing an edge type position. And then there on the bottom of the screen, you got two big defensive tackles. And what they're doing here is they're just anticipating run. You see that offset running back to the left. Most of the time, he's coming across the formation on a handoff. So they're just anticipating the run there on 2nd and goal from the 5-yard line. And that's exactly what they got. Let's watch it. Bunch of big bodies down there at the bottom, and that's where the ball goes. They get a really good push. They're able to get a stop for loss. And then here we go with a 1st and goal from the 10. And they bring in the jumbos, man. All four of those defensive linemen are defensive tackles. So they took their edges off the field. They brought in a bunch of big guys. And again, they're anticipating the run on 1st down. That's what they get. They get pushed and they get another tackle for loss. So this Arkansas defense will kind of do some interesting things on that defensive line. Down close to the goal line to kind of either let you run face first into it or kind of make you do something else. And they play a lot of man coverage down there, like most teams do on the goal line, especially as you get closer to the goal line. Start playing more man coverage. Final thoughts on this Arkansas defense. As I said, I think they've got three standouts, and there's one at each level. And Landon Jackson is absolutely the guy, to me, that could single-handedly affect the game. Like, I mean, if that dude gets a hot hand rushing the passer, problems for Texas. I don't think the rest of the supporting cast is really all that overly impressive. They've probably got some other good players. They are certainly susceptible to getting beat deep if you can protect the quarterback. We saw Ole Miss just absolutely. I mean, it was like watching flag football. They're not a great tackling team out in space. I think that's something that works against them, against this Texas team. You got guys like Jaden Blue, Trey Wisner, obviously some of those wide receivers. Really, really quick twitch guys. Silas Bolden, let that guy get the ball in space against this Arkansas defense. They're going to have some problems keep getting him down. So going into this game, I think I'm much more worried about the Arkansas offense against the Texas defense than I am the offense against Arkansas's defense. I think, again, if we can keep them a little bit off balance, just use the running game enough to keep them off balance. And really, again, it's not even about the running game. It's about getting the running backs involved in some capacity. Keep that defense a little off balance. Keep Ewers upright. And I think this Texas offense is capable of really laying it on Arkansas, just like Ole Miss did. We'll be back Friday. Talk about that wild SEC title game scenario that we were talking about earlier today. We'll do our 4 keys and a prediction for this game. Up in Vietnam. Find us on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Give us a subscribe, give us a follow, interact with us. Won't cost you guys a thing. We sure do appreciate the support. A lot of you guys do, and I do appreciate it. It's awesome talking to you guys when we're out. Email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. I love them all. Hey, folks, we're less than 48 hours away. Love me some football. Man, I can't believe the season's almost over, but it is what it is. You guys have a good rest of your Friday Eve. Y'all get hooked.